What is going on, everybody? This is a Tim and Shipe show. We're part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and these episodes this season, all season long, we have two wonderful sponsors. The first one is the Loft at Pex Hall. The Loft at Pex Hall is a beautiful room, a beautiful 4,000 square feet venue where you can have weddings, parties, whatever it is. It can fit so many people. There's elevator access for whatever catering you may need. It's on the third floor, and it overlooks the very special town of Circleville. And it used to be a bowling alley. It used to be just storage for these for an old store that used to be up there. And it has been restored back to its original beauty. Redid the floors, redid everything. It just looks absolutely gorgeous up there. And so check out the Loft at Pex Hall on Facebook and book your next venue there as soon as you can. It is run by two of the most wonderful people in the world, and they will take care of you if you reach out and get a hold of them and schedule your next party, wedding, whatever it is. If you have a gathering, you need to check out the Loft at Pex Hall in Circleville, Ohio. They will take care of you, and you will not regret it. They're the pictures that are from that facility are absolutely beautiful. And so check out the Loft at Pex Hall on Facebook and book your next venue today. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Bella Freight. Bella Freight's a company that will take those heavy loads that you may have. They have trucks that go all over the country, and they can transport whatever you need from one end to the other. Check out Bella Freight. They're on Facebook as well. You can book them to do your next delivery or your next transport, heavy, light, whatever it may be. Check out Bella Freight. Go to their Facebook page or do a quick Google search of Bella Freight and book your next travel destination with Bella Freight as soon as you can. They are eager, and they are a great company. And I can't say enough good things about Bella Freight. Check out Bella Freight and the Loft at Pex Hall as soon as you can. You will not regret either one. I fully support them both. And so check them out. Give them a chance. And let's get to the show. I am super excited about this episode. Tim and I talk about what happened with the Gators. We talk about our picks. It was just a wild week in college football, and it was an exciting episode. And so hang on, and let's get to it.
Could be up to the offensive line. No, Prince's going to throw for it. Got to get it off. They go for the ball game. Touchdown! Touchdown! Michael Jenkins! Holy Buckeye!
Tebow straight ahead into the end zone, and the Gators have put this one on ice.
Hello, and welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. This is a college football podcast. Thank you so much for being a part of it today. We are a part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and what Tim and I are going to do is talk about college football for the next 45 minutes to an hour. He's a Florida Gator fan. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye fan, and we can't help but talk about college football. So let's dive into this last weekend, Tim. It was kind of a little sketchy for you at times. What exactly happened with the Gators?
It was a rough weekend for me. All the feelings, highs, lows, all the way around. At one point, we're up by 11. I think this is it. We got this. Game's over. Then we let Texas A&M come back. They actually get a stop. Just one of those games where, for the last decade, the one thing I could count on for Florida was their defense. There are games where we couldn't score a touchdown, but at least we knew we had our defense. And it is so frustrating to just watch this team with this process, this system where they can't stop anybody ever at all. Yeah. And the first half, not a single punt in the first half from either team. It's fun to watch the offense, but it's very frustrating to watch this defense. And I don't know, I don't know what they're going to do differently, but people are calling for the defensive coordinator Grantham to lose his job over this because they're not making adjustments. They're not doing what they have to do. They're not changing schemes. They're not doing anything to do something better. They're just sticking with what they have, and it's clearly not working. So it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. I'm just so grateful that we have Kyle Trask and the offensive crew that we do, because we would be absolutely getting blown out week after week if it wasn't for them this season. So yeah, I mean, the good news is we're scoring points. And you and I talked about this if a team scores 35 points,
Mm-hmm.
they should never lose.
Right.
If you can get over that mark, you're doing your job on offense. Florida
Mm-hmm.
scored 38 points, and they lost by a field goal at the end of the game. And that's just unacceptable. And that's and the sad thing is we had the ball, we're driving down the field, and we fumble. If Malik Davis doesn't fumble that football, then I think Florida still wins that game. And they just had a bad turnover at the wrong time, and it cost us a win.
Yeah. Do you have a little empathy for the Big 12 teams these days? Understanding of this is, the high-powered offense, but the weak defense, the Baylors of the world who can score, 1,000 points, but it doesn't help if your, defense can't hang with anybody. The Ole Miss.
I'm glad you brought that up because, across the league this year, and I think you're going to see it in the Big Ten. I know you like to kind of dog the SEC a little bit, and it's all in good fun because we both know they're a better conference. But the reality is this year is we talked about it on week 1. This is a different season. And what I'm seeing across college football is no spring football, way less practices than normal, and it's showing. It's showing across the league, especially the defense across college football this year has been record-breakingly bad.
Mm-hmm.
In the SEC specifically, the Big 12, I don't think you can tell them much of a difference because they've never played defense to begin with.
Right.
The SEC, you're seeing it. I mean, look at the games last week. LSU allows 41 points to Missouri, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia scores 44 on Tennessee. Alabama gives up 48 to Ole Miss. I mean, but they score 63. So it's like across the league, like you talk about teams like Alabama, LSU, Florida, who pride themselves on their defense, and they are breaking. Alabama's never given up as many yards as they did to Ole Miss this past weekend in their history of their school, their program.
Yeah.
I mean, it's embarrassing.
You attribute that to bad, not enough practices, not enough spring ball. You don't attribute it to just poor game planning or poor defense in general.
I don't. And here's my thing. Like, leave Florida out of the conversation for a minute.
Sure.
Nick Saban doesn't bad game plan. I've never seen him not game plan. I mean, he's had games where he lost. He's had games where he got exposed a little bit, against superior talent.
Yeah.
But that's not the case here. We've talked about Ole Miss. They're not a good team. They can score points, but they're not a good team. And he's had enough tape over the last few weeks to game plan against Ole Miss. So for that school, for that program and that coach to allow 48 points, I don't think it's a game planning issue. I don't think it's a talent issue. For me, it's an experience issue. They're missing tackles. They're in the wrong place. It's not a typical thing. And same for LSU, same for Florida. I understand LSU is young and inexperienced, but these programs are known and take pride in their defense. And I think that they're just in the wrong place. They're missing tackles. They're just not lining up correctly, marking the wrong person. People are getting open. I blame a lot of this, or attribute a lot of it to lack of training, lack of practice, and just in general not having spring football.
Okay. I would agree with you, except for the fact that I think there are teams out there who are playing good defense.
Who's playing good defense?
Cincinnati, for one. I think the Bearcats are playing good defense. I think Clemson seems to be playing good defense. I think there are teams out there who UNC is playing great defense. If it was an all-around thing.
Don't say UNC. UNC is not playing good defense.
UNC is playing good defense.
Okay, UNC just gave up 45 points to Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
That's not good defense.
They had 1 week of bad defense, but outside of that, they gave up 6 to Syracuse, 22 to Boston College. I mean, Virginia Tech put up 45, so that's not great. But
and Cincinnati, they played Austin Pace, Army, and USF. Army is the best team they've played.
You got to bring it. Yeah, you got to have disciplined, good defense against Army.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. But the rest of it, like I'm not sold on Cincinnati at this point. They don't really play anybody this year to really test them.
Yeah,
So maybe UCF.
but in
maybe.
a typical Cincinnati season, they're not ranked 8th and,
Yeah.
holding teams below 35 most weeks.
Sure.
They're playing good defense against their competition. I don't know. So there are teams out there who are doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I guess I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, as a whole across the country, there is a different feel for gameplay, and defenses specifically seem to be struggling. And it'll be interesting to see what the Big Ten does when they come in. They did have extra practices, but I think you're going to see a similar feel across the league this year, across college football, of teams not quite where they should be at this point in the season.
I hope you're wrong. I feel like you're wrong. I feel like Ohio State will be ready on defense. I think we're going to have a really good defense. Maybe these extra practices will prove to be beneficial. I think we've had a lot more time for in-game practices and just getting a feel for things. And we have a lot of talent on defense. When you came into this season, were you thinking Florida, was going to be showstoppers on defense and they're playing under their level?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I expected more turnovers for one thing. We are not turning the ball over the way we should on defense. Okay. And third down, we can't stop anybody on third down, which is surprising because people are like, well, this is a young team. They're not that young. They have juniors, sophomores on in their secondary, but they should be playmakers at this point. They've had enough experience. Some of these guys have played since they were freshmen. They have enough experience. They should be making these plays. They shouldn't have to have double coverage on these players. They should be able to one-on-one, beat people. For one, they shouldn't be 10 yards off the ball on a 3rd and 3. Just some of this is basic things. But, yeah, I expected much more from this defense than what we're seeing.
Yeah. I have a saying with my youth group that excuses are like buttholes. Everyone has one and they all stink. And it's starting to smell a little bit like butthole in here, Tim.
No, I'm telling you.
Excuses.
No, I'm saying there's a pattern. There's a pattern across college football. I'm not saying anything about like Florida. That has nothing to do with Florida. I'm saying across college football, I'm seeing a pattern, and the only reasoning I can come up with is this is my theory. I'm not saying it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
But I do think it's an unusual year, and it's showing. It's different. When Alabama's giving up record yards to a team, when LSU, which we expected to be different, they lost their coordinator, they lost most of their team from last year, so they're kind of they're a separate thing for me. But when Florida and Alabama are playing the way they are on defense, then it raises some question marks, and that's my processing over the last couple of days. Could it be this? I'm not saying it absolutely is, but it's the only theory that comes to mind, and I've been kind of working through this in my mind. But regardless, our defense is bad. Our offense is really good.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing about this game, too, is we did this, putting 38 points on the board, almost completely without Kyle Pitts. I don't know what's going on with Kyle Pitts. He is injured in some way, and I don't know why the team isn't acknowledging it. It seems like they're keeping it quiet. But when they're on a drive and they're in the red zone, he's staying on the sideline. That's a problem. Yeah. I mean, he is by far their biggest threat in the red zone. He's a matchup nightmare for just about any team in the country. And so I don't know what's going on with him. He barely played in the second half, and when he did play, he seemed to be just blocking. He wasn't going out for the receptions. And so I'm not sure what's going on, but that concerns me because he's our best receiver. So hopefully he's okay. He'll be healthy and he'll be good.
Is he a junior?
Yes,
he's a junior, so he's eligible. This will be his last year at Florida, you'd say.
Yeah, he's going. Yeah, he's done. He's going to the NFL. He's gonna make a lot of money after this season.
Yeah. Do you think that? And I think I asked you this last week because I thought I noticed a little something, but I haven't followed him like you have. Is he soft? Like, is he a little bit, easy to push around, kind of?
No, I don't think so. I think he. For one, he's a competitor. And in the years past, this program basically has played him as a wide receiver. They haven't asked him to block. They haven't even lined him up to block. But when they didn't consider him for one of the best tight ends last year because he didn't line up enough as a true tight end. He took that very personally. He worked out during the entire offseason to get stronger, to get bigger. And his whole thing was like, you're not even going to consider me. I'll show you. And he wants to be that. He wants to show the country that he is the best tight end in the country. And so he's asked them to line him up more as a true tight end. It was never that he was soft. It was they never really gave him the opportunity until now. So it's a different structure. And he's trying to prove to everyone, obviously he's motivated by that feedback, but also I think he sees this is his opportunity to get that big contract in the NFL.
Yeah. How's he do blocking?
He does fine. Like he does. Yeah. He's, like I said, he's gotten stronger this year. He is as much of a man as he's ever been. I mean, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
So he's done a good job of really adjusting to that, but he's 6'6", 240. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
He's almost a lineman at this point. So, but no, he's a good blocker. He's not elite yet, but like I said, he's never really been asked to in his life. So now is the first time where he's learning how to do that, and he's asking the coaches to show him those skills so he can be a little bit of a different type of player.
He's not elite yet. That reminds me a lot of Urban Meyer. Whenever he would talk about a player, that guy's elite. That guy is elite. And heard a lot of rumors about Urban Meyer this past weekend, and it's going to continue throughout the college football season. But I saw a post on Twitter just either last night or this morning that said Urban Meyer's agent is talking to Texas about the biggest college football coaching job in America. And so this could be something that we see happening this year.
Yeah, and it's interesting timing when they just beat Oklahoma in 4 overtimes.
Oklahoma beat them in 4 overtimes.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
When Oklahoma just beat them, sorry, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a coincidence, and I'm sure you don't either, that those conversations are going to heat up with a 2-loss on both sides of that. Both of those teams have 2 losses already. That this kind of conversation is going to happen. It's just it's how it goes.
And I don't think Urban Meyer and Tom Herman are the best of friends. A lot of rumors were started that Tom Herman was the reason behind Ohio State's scandal, Urban Meyer's last year, that Tom Herman got those Zach Smith rumors started and reached out to the press and all that to really go after Urban Meyer. And so I'd almost think that Urban Meyer would take this just in spite of Tom Herman.
I would hope that he's a bigger man than that. It wouldn't, but I'm going to say that doesn't hurt.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. So I don't know. You mentioned last week that what's the benefit of going? It's extremely high expectations when nobody has really been able to do it since Mac Brown in 2007, I want to say.
I think it was 2005.
2005. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It was 2005. So they have really had a hard time at Texas. And so what would be the benefit? I mean, you have all the recruiting. He has a lot of recruiting connections in Texas already. A lot of Ohio State players came from Texas. And so he could bring them in. But Tom Herman's bringing them in. I mean, Tom Herman's, been ranked top 15 for the last couple of years in recruiting. And so I think and there are 4 and 5-star guys on that team. So even if is Urban Meyer smarter than Tom Herman? I mean, he's a better coach, but when Tom Herman was here at Ohio State, at least, and when he went to Houston, he did really great things. Yeah. So is there unrealistic expectations for Texas at this point?
And that was my question last week are they the USC of 2020 where players don't remember them being good? So the reality is they do have a rich history. They have very wealthy people backing that program. Mm-hmm. They have the money. They have the resources. And the bottom line is Tom Herman does not have the staff that Urban Meyer can. And we talked about this a little bit last week, which hurts you dramatically because Urban Meyer brings these guys from Ohio State in who have been with him since, the Utah days. Right. So he's going to pull these guys in. He has a huge advantage with his staff and his his recruiters and his reputation as much as anything, I think, is I want to play for that guy. Yeah. And Tom Herman might be a decent coach, but he doesn't have that right. edge, that something about Urban Meyer where he's a good coach, he is a great role model, and people want to play for him. And Tom Herman, there's something that leaves a bad taste in my mouth with that man.
Me too.
Going back to that whole situation at Ohio State where he may have been involved in it in some way, and there's just something I don't love about him, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but there's something special about Urban Meyer as a person beyond his coaching and the way he relates to people in that living room when he's recruiting them. It's just different.
Yeah. When you watch Urban Meyer, you can't help but like him. Both of us, he's left both of our teams, and we both look back and say, but he did great things for the university. Yeah. It's not a typical coach who's left and, you just have that bitter taste in your mouth, left for another program, or, it's even if he went to Texas, the only thing that would drive me nuts is that he's going to take our strength and conditioning and recruiting staff. Yeah. Yeah. But as far as him as a coach, I'll be like, I would want him to do well. I'd probably root for Texas because Urban Meyer's there, and I want Urban Meyer to do well.
Well, yeah, and even going back to, and I'm trying to think, the only comparison I have is Steve Spurrier, who was at Florida for a long time, really developed that program dramatically, and then he leaves to go to the NFL. It doesn't work out. He goes to South Carolina, and I didn't feel the way about Steve Spurrier until he came back to Florida. After he retired and he came back as a representative of the University of Florida, and that's when I can love him again, but I did not feel the way about him when he left, when he was at South Carolina. And there's something just different about Urban Meyer. Like, I can't be mad at him. I make jokes about him faking a heart condition, which is inappropriate, whatever. But the bottom line is, like, I know people who are mad at him still and won't ever accept him again. But I'm like, you know what? He did a lot for our program, and I just feel differently about him. I can't help it.
Yeah. And, I watch him he's great on Big Noon Saturdays. He's a great commentator, but his heart's in coaching, and I wouldn't be surprised. He's not going to start mid-season. So I think so we're going to hear these rumors all the way through the end of the year. And even if Tom Herman turns the team around and they end up, best possible scenario, I don't even know what that is at this point. I would not be surprised if Urban Meyer is in his Texas windbreaker next season on the sidelines.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that it's going to be probably around week 11 of this year that this is going to happen, because he's going to want to get his team together. He's going to want to take the time to start talking to people, start recruiting. He's not going to want to wait till the end of the season's over and he's behind the 8 ball already. Like, he's going to want to be able to get started. So I think you're going to see it around week 11, week 12, where that's when teams typically start making those changes. So Tom Herman's probably going to be fired around week 10, and then that's when this is really going to heat up. Yeah. And we're not going to know, but they've already going to have had this conversation where Urban Meyer said, "Yeah, I'll take the job." Yeah. So even if he's not officially hired till week 12, or maybe even the season's over, but I don't think so. Yeah. And that way he can start recruiting and getting his team together.
Man, yeah, you're probably right. I hate the idea. I just don't want to lose Marotti. Dude's best in the world. Best in the world, literally. I think he's the best strength trainer in the world.
Well, here's the problem, man, is that it's going to create a distraction at Ohio State, because even if these guys don't specifically leave till the season is over, there's going to be rumblings. There's going to be smoke. There's going to be conversations happening in the media for sure. And they're going to be asked these questions. Are you leaving to go to Texas or Urban Meyer? Even if they deny it, like, players are going to see it. It's going to become a distraction for that university. I'm not saying they can't overcome it, but it's going to be impossible not to hear the rumblings.
I think that it's going to be more of a distraction in recruiting. I don't know if we're going to lose the class that we have right now for 21. I mean, we're ranked second right now. We're battling Alabama for the first ranked class of 2021, but I think future recruiting is going to hurt more, because I don't think Marotti or Pantoni have a lot to do with the game planning or anything like that. So I don't think it'll hurt us on the field as much as it will in years to come on recruiting.
Well, I'm not talking about the strategy and gameplay so much as just the focus. The focus of players is going to be off a little bit. But I'm not saying it's going to hurt them in the season. I'm just saying in general, it's going to be a little bit of a distraction.
Yeah. Yeah, but Maradi, best in the world. This week, Ohio State gave a Block O jersey, and it is confirmed. I wasn't sure if it was just like a commemorative, here's a Block O jersey for all your hard work, frame it, hang it up. But in honor of the Buckeye great Bill Willis, Ohio State has started a new tradition where they're giving the hardest working player on the off season or in the fall camp a Block O jersey to wear throughout the season. And this year that's going to Jonathan Cooper. And so Jonathan Cooper they've really been pumping up Jonathan Cooper during the offseason. I think the coaches are seeing something where he has taken the next step. He could be when you asked me several weeks ago, who's going to be the next big rusher, who's going to be the next big thing for Ohio State. And I think it's going to be Jonathan Cooper. And I think Zach Harrison's going to turn a lot of heads, but I think Jonathan Cooper has something special this year, and he's taking that next step. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be a force to reckon with. He's a captain. He's one of the leaders on this team, and he might be the Chase Young of this season. So really looking forward to Ohio State taking over just college football. We got one more week here with no real college football, and then next week we can finally have college football back in full swing, basically without the Pac-12, but who really cares about the Pac-12?
Exactly. So going back to Cooper, is he draft eligible after this season? What year is he?
He's fifth-year senior.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. He's been here a long time, and he's one who needed this season. He may have been like a 4th, 5th round pick, but I think after this season, he'll be a 1st-round draft pick. He's one who, if this season was canceled, it would have just crushed his career big time and set him way, way, way back. But this season, he's going to turn some heads as long as he can stay healthy. The reason he's a 5th-year senior and so good is because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's been battling injury, but this year, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a force.
Okay. Well, speaking of crushing Ohio State, did you watch Clemson this past weekend?
I hate you. Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I caught pieces of the Clemson game. They did exactly what I thought they were going to do. Clemson is not going to slow down. They're just so much better than everyone in the ACC. And even if that's the thing, even if Miami thinks that they're back, and they may be as far as Miami's concerned, but they haven't eclipsed that next tier. They're still not Clemson. They're not Alabama. They're not. And I knew that they weren't. And I knew that Clemson was going to roll.
Well, here, I guess my logic with this matchup was I thought that Clemson had lost enough on defense last year that although they reload, and I understand they're a very deep and talented program at this point, that they had lost enough star power that Miami would be able to score against them.
Yeah.
And they made it very clear very early in this game, no, you're not. I mean, it was impressive. And that's where I'm watching this game, and I was like, first of all, I'm wrong. Like I predicted it would be less than a 14-point game, and it was kind of close in the beginning, but from the very beginning, I think Clemson was like, we're better than you. And it was very clear. I don't think it was like a JV varsity game. Like to me, it was never a question about who was going to win the game as soon as they started playing.
Yeah.
A lot of talk, as typical Miami fashion, they're talking they have all kinds of things to say, but they couldn't back any of it up when they came to the field. And the U is not back. Like I'm saying that right now, like they are not what they think they are. Ray Lewis is out there saying all kinds of things, and he's like, okay, Ray, go sit down. You have enough concussions. You need to go relax a little bit. This program is not back. And Clemson, not only do they have the best quarterback in the country, but their program in general they have possibly the best running back in the country with ETN. He's unbelievably good.
Get out of here. He's unbelievably good against Miami. He didn't do anything against Ohio State. He had a couple catches out of the backfield or something. He ran the ball kind of well, but when he played against Ohio State, he wasn't back. He's not the best running back in college football.
I think you're going to regret saying that, man. Like, I know you say you want to play Clemson this year. I don't think you want to play Clemson this year.
Want him.
You've been heartbroken how many times by Clemson in the last decade? Like, this team is playing on another level right now. Like, they are right now the best. And I'm not overhyping this. Like, I've been downplaying that. In my mind, I've been saying this team is good. They're good, but I think they're beatable this year. I don't think they're beatable this year right now. I think that as of right now, and obviously the Big Ten hasn't played yet, so we'll see what Ohio State is. And you can talk up Ohio State all you want until we see them on the field. Mm-hmm. Week 2, they have scrimmages almost all season, so they play week 2.
Right.
But right now, this Clemson team is at least one level above everybody else in the country.
Yeah. So. Clemson is to Ohio State what Ohio State is to Oregon. We haven't been able to beat them, and they have our number. Well, they didn't have our number last year.
Yes, they do. They have your number.
They did not have our number last year.
Over the past decade, they've had your number. Ohio State has never beaten Clemson.
I know that.
Do we need to bring that up?
I know.
Speaking of that, my son asked me the other day, we're watching Florida play, and he's like, "Has Florida ever played Ohio State?" And I was like, yeah, let me show you some highlights. So he was like, oh, man, Florida's so much better than Ohio State.
Well, I'm telling you right now, if Ohio State gets a shot to play Clemson, Ohio State is going to do to Clemson what Florida did to Ohio State in 2006.
No way. No
you watch it.
chance.
You watch it. I cannot wait for that to happen.
I'm still going to record all these episodes this year. There's going to be so many. Your highlight reel is going to be the best.
You just wait. So, Trevor Lawrence, I want to talk about him. He said he's the best, and that's debatable.
Number 1 pick in the draft, hands down.
No. Fields is going to take over that spot. Fields is he's just so good. He's going to be so good this year. Anyway, 2 players were ejected from Miami last week, weren't they, for targeting on Trevor Lawrence?
I believe so, yeah. I think it was 2. And
each time he did exactly what he did against Ohio State with Shaun Wade. He ducked down last minute and almost forced them to go head-to-head. They were both going low, and he did his little duck down move, and he acted hurt on the field. And he literally starts dancing when the other player gets ejected from the game because of his ridiculous move.
I mean, the guy's 6'6". I mean, I wouldn't say he's doing it on purpose. Like he
seems to be doing it on purpose. It's happened 3 times now where he's done that. You
got to tackle him differently. You got to know.
How would you tackle him?
I guess hit him at the waist. I don't know. Like, you've got to –
He ducks down. You
he's 6'6".
Can't hit him at the waist.
He's 6'6". Like, what else are you going to do? Like,
and he rolled around on the ground waiting for the flag, and then something finally came in, and he hopped up and then went over to the sidelines and starts dancing when the other player gets kicked out. He is just – he leaves a nasty taste in my mouth. I do not like him at all. Cannot stand him. I think he's rotten.
There's so much passion carrying over from last season. That's what this is.
No, he's rotten. I think
I think you're the only person who doesn't like him in the whole country. Honestly, like
that's not true.
He's a likable guy too.
No, he's not. He's rotten.
He's not.
Just after seeing that, what he did over the weekend, and then dancing when that other player got ejected, he's going to do that in more close games. Just wait and see. It's going to be a thing that he does is try to get players ejected for targeting. It worked against Ohio State, took out our safety. Shaun Wade opened things up for him, and he liked it. He liked what that did. And you're going to see it more close games. You're going to start seeing more of that.
Well, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you like it?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
you do.
I don't like him.
I mean, and to be fair, like if you get hit, it might hurt, but then you're like over it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying none of those hits hurt. Like, are you really gonna say like he just faked it just to get someone kicked out of a game? Like, I'm
gonna say on one of those occasions, not every time, but I think on one of those occasions he tried to sell it. He did the soccer thing,
he may have.
And he tried to sell it to get that guy, kicked out.
Regardless, though,
because you don't lay on the field that long, and then you're able to jump up and start dancing like that.
All I'm saying is 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against this Miami defense, and
This Miami defense? Why are you upselling the Miami defense?
Oh, I'm not.
It's an ACC defense.
I didn't mean it like they're like the best defense. I'm just saying this is just this game. Like, he is the best quarterback in the country. He's going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be the Jets, which is quarterback's graveyard. But that's where it's going to happen. But he's going to be the number one pick in the draft. This team is playing at a different level this year. So we'll see. We'll see if Ohio State's really legit this year.
We will next weekend. Well, yeah, I mean, I think Nebraska might hang for a couple quarters. When I'm rewatching Ohio State games, it takes like the first half for Ohio State to really get in their groove in a lot of these games. I think their halftime adjustments are really, really good. And so they may hang for a quarter or so, but I think by fourth quarter, it'll be our backups getting some game time.
Yeah, they only have one. They only have one game on their schedule.
Yeah,
and I guess Michigan will count because of the rivalry, but that's it. Like, that's Penn State, Michigan. The rest of their schedule is a cakewalk. There's nobody in this Big Ten this year who has a shot.
Yeah, I hope that's true. I hope it's we skate all the way to the playoffs until we can play Clemson. And that's what I want. That's what this year is all about, is getting another shot at Clemson for me. If we don't get another shot at Clemson, it's going to be very disappointing.
It's even more disappointing when you do get a shot at Clemson.
No, it's not. We're going to just roll. We are going to roll over them. They just fired up thinking about it.
I think I know you're not going to like hearing this, but I really believe that you're going to regret those words.
Nope.
I really do.
Nope. Oh, I just can't wait, Tim. I just got like these butterflies in my stomach thinking about Ohio State playing football. Just so you can see them. Just so you can see their greatness.
Man, I love football.
Me too. All right. Let's move on. When we're talking about great teams, you can't help but talk about Bama. And Bama has one heck of a game coming up this weekend. 2 against 3. They're the only game on the schedule, so they're going to get all the eyeballs. The only game this week that's really worth watching. Of course, you have a couple games that I think will be closer than what the experts say. So we're going to make those picks. We have 3 games this week. First one we're going to pick is LSU at Florida. Florida's favored by 13.5. And then we have Texas A&M, Mississippi State. A&M's favored by 6.5. And Georgia, Alabama, Bama's favored by 6. So let's pick the LSU-Florida game. Who do you have here, Tim? Florida favored by 6.5.
13.5. I'm going to say Florida's going to bounce back this weekend. LSU, they lost so much on both sides of the ball. They're having a down year. Both of these teams are giving up a lot of points, but I like Florida's offense more than LSU's. I think we'll win by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think you'll win by 17. So, okay. Yeah, I'm going to take Florida there as well. LSU, they are Missouri. They are bottom of the barrel SEC team this year, and I don't know if they'll ever recover with what they lost, coach, not just players, coaches and everything. I think Coach O's a good coach, but I don't think he's a great coach.
No, I think his coordinators made him look really good.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow going there made him look really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. And I was listening to him talk about the Gators yesterday, and I'm not exaggerating. The only word I understood was Gata. That's the only word I understood. So I think he was talking about the Gators, but he may have gone hunting. I don't know.
Maybe the mask that he's going to wear is a Gata. Anyway, yeah. So we both have Florida favored there. We have them winning big. A&M, Mississippi State. This is one that I'm intrigued by. A&M just took down Florida, and I still think Florida's a good team. So, but Mississippi State, I think, is that team that is going to do upsets this year. They're going to lose games that they should win, but they're going to upset teams that they should lose big to. And so I think this game is going to be pretty close. The spread is 6.5 for A&M. Tim, what do you think there?
So I'm looking at this game, and I thought week 1 against LSU, Mississippi State, I was like, wow, mate, they can score points. This Leach, he's doing good things there. Since then, they've scored a total of 16 points in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think that Arkansas exposed them a little bit, and then Kentucky only gave up 2 points. They gave up safety. That was it. They beat them 24-2. I don't think this team is very good. I think LSU was worse than people thought, like we already talked about. And I think Mississippi State has enough film on them already to show the SEC, like, this is what you got to do to beat them. So I think that Texas A&M will beat them by way more than a touchdown. So I don't think it's that close.
Yeah, I'm actually going A&M there too. I tried to hype you up to make you take Mississippi State, but yeah, I have A&M rolling Mississippi State. These are the games we have to pick from, folks. Don't judge us. These are not great week of games.
No, I mean, Georgia Alabama is the only real game.
It's the only game this whole week. Yeah.
Florida LSU, of course, the big game, guys. We got this.
If you lose, Tim,
it's over. Yeah, let's talk about that for 1 second. That's why I'm here right now. That's why I can still do this podcast, is because I was very upset during this game until I look at Florida's as their schedule, and I was like, all right. I mean, this is like an hour after the game. I'm like, okay, this is awful. This is terrible news. I can't believe we lost this game. And I was like, well, what has to happen for us to be contenders still? And I look, and because Texas A&M is in the West and Florida's in the East of the SEC, we don't have to worry about A&M. We don't have to worry about them losing. It doesn't matter. Like, what it comes down to is if Florida just has to win out, because they still control their destiny. They have to beat Georgia. You know, that's their biggest test. They have to beat Tennessee. But they should be able to beat LSU. They should be able to beat Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt. Those are games they should win. So if they can just beat Georgia, which is not an automatic, but if they can beat Georgia, then the rest of their schedule should be very manageable until they get to Tennessee, which would be a test. But I still think Florida's better than that team. So we control our destiny. Absolutely. We can still get to this SEC championship and get into the playoff as long as we win out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that gives me hope. I felt terrible for you over the weekend. But yeah, I looked at it and I said, they lost to a West team. There's nothing holding them back except themselves. There's no reason why Florida can't make a full recovery and still be in the playoffs.
Yep.
I still don't know what Georgia is. I don't they beat Auburn pretty handedly, but we saw Auburn skate by this last weekend. They shouldn't have won. And so, I mean, that's a fumble. That's a backwards pass. Anyway, we don't have time for that. Yeah. But we're going to learn a lot about Georgia this weekend. We're going to find out who they are and what they're all about. Again, Tennessee, overrated, not good. Auburn, overrated, not good. And we all know what Arkansas is. And so Georgia doesn't have a great quarterback. They have a really, really good defense. But that's a team that's playing good defense. Georgia's played really good defense.
They just gave up a decent amount of points to Tennessee, though. Like, I don't know. Like, they're playing good. I'll give it to them. They're playing good defense.
Yeah. And so Georgia, we'll know what Georgia is after this weekend, because they're going up against Bama.
Yeah.
And so this weekend's going to tell me a lot about who's in my top 4. It's kind of like I'll get into that in the next segment. But so we have Georgia, Alabama, 6.5 favorites. Do you want me to go first on this? I had it on my screen. I deleted it and I put a different team because I talked myself into Georgia here. I'm going with Georgia.
See, I already wrote it down. I wrote it down. I do also think that this is a chip shot field goal kind of a game.
Yeah.
So I can show it to you. I have it. I don't know if you can see that, but
I believe you. You're not a liar, Tim.
I'm not a liar. But I don't like it. I want to have a different. I don't want to agree on all these games this week, but I agree.
I initially picked Bama, and then I deleted it and talked myself right into Georgia.
Yeah, I think this is one of those tie game down to the last second field goal kind of a game.
Yeah.
I just think that both of these teams have their strengths and weaknesses, and they kind of counter each other with that. So I think it's going to be kind of a coin flip game.
Yep, and I think Georgia actually wins outright because they're playing defense right now. And Bama is not.
Well, but that's where I'm like, I think that Nick Saban's they're going to be running laps this week. Like, he's not going to be happy. So, they gave up a lot of points to Ole Miss. He's saying that Ole Miss had their defensive signals. Lane Kiffin had stolen their signals, so he knew how to counter. Yeah. So I do expect a better defensive effort this week after giving up 24 to A&M and then 48 to Ole Miss. I think that it's going to be a closer game. That's what's going to make this a game, is that their defense is going to have to step up against Georgia.
Yeah.
And I think the inexperience of the Georgia quarterback is going to be the difference in this game. That's why I think Alabama's going to pull it out, but it's going to be closer than 6.
Man, you're making good points, but I'm going to stick with it. Georgia outright over Bama. Yeah, so we have all the same picks, and we're tied up because you had higher hopes for Miami than what Miami showed.
I did.
So I took that one.
So do you want to go crazy with this one and ignore the spread, go Georgia Alabama
just
outright to win? Because I'll take Alabama to win straight up, but I don't like the -6. Your call. Right here in the moment, everybody. You're listening to this. This is live. This is not planned.
Oh, Tim. Man. Yeah, all right, I'll do it. Yeah.
Riverboat Aaron.
Yeah, Georgia. All right, Georgia outright. So change your pick to Bama with an asterisk by it. And I'll keep Georgia with an asterisk by mine so that we know what the heck we're talking about next week.
All right. It's exciting.
Yeah, so Georgia outright. All right. Yeah. Oh, man, I have to root for Georgia. I have to root for an SEC team. Ugh.
Well, I don't want to cheer for Alabama either. Trust me.
All right. Man, so much is on the line this year.
Yeah.
For those of you who may just be joining in this week, Tim and I have an ongoing bet. This is our third year doing the podcast. Tim has won these picks 2 years running. He's on what we would call a streak. And so I have to buy him a ticket to a game. I've already given him a jersey. But if I win the picks this year, I finally get my Ohio State jersey. But if Tim wins, I have to fly or drive to Florida and go to a stupid Florida game with Tim.
With the tickets that you bought.
With the tickets that I bought. Yeah. So that's no fun. But yeah, so there's a lot on the line. There's thousands of dollars on the line this year. So really need to win this. But all right, so Bama, the winner of this Bama-Georgia game, I think is in the playoffs. I think I'm going to count Florida out at this point. The winner of the Bama-Georgia game is going to represent the SEC in the playoffs. That's my prediction right now.
I disagree because I think worst case, these two teams play each other again in the SEC championship. So I think that's gonna make it. Even if Georgia beats Alabama, if Alabama wins out, gets the SEC championship, I think Alabama would change things and they beat Georgia the second time.
And you think they would give the nod to Bama
if they beat them in the SEC championship?
If they beat them in the championship, I think Bama's going to have a slip up. Even if they lose to Georgia, they may lose another one.
Wow.
I don't think Bama's as good as what people say. I think they're a lot more like last year than what people want to admit. I think they might miss the playoffs this year again.
It's possible. I mean, their quarterback is decent, but he's not a
showstopper.
He's not anything special.
Yeah. So I actually have taken out Florida from my top 4. You forced me to put Georgia in my top 4. So 1, 2, 3, Ohio State. Well, 1 and 2, Ohio State, Clemson. I think 1 and 2 are going to separate themselves, and it's going to be Ohio State, Clemson, whoever you want, mix and match, 1 and 2. And then I'll say Ohio State number 1, and then Clemson, Georgia 3, Penn State 4. That's who's in for me.
Wow. You have completely underestimated Oklahoma State.
I have. Are you going?
They made my top 4. They did.
Did they really?
Good job, Oklahoma State.
You're being serious right now.
I'm being serious. They're in my top 4 right now.
Notre Dame and put who's their quality win?
You mean Notre Shame? Yeah.
Yeah, Notre Shame. Who's Oklahoma State's quality win against?
Well,
to get
did you
them in
see
there.
them against Kansas? Did you see what they did against Kansas?
Yeah.
47-7.
Yeah.
This team is
Against
for real.
Kansas. They're not for
They don't have it. They don't have to play anybody else the rest of the season.
Okay. Do you know why there's any hype behind Oklahoma State at all right now?
Because they play in the Big 12?
Because they play in the Big 12 and they are the only team that Fox has right now. And so you got people like Joel Klatt out there hyping the Oklahoma State train when it's not real. They just want eyeballs on their screen.
No,
And
it's not hype, man.
it's hype. It's all just false hype.
This is classic Big 12. They're going to win out. They're going to get to the playoff, and they're going to get destroyed by 50 points to Clemson. That's what the Big 12 does.
It might be, but I think
you said top 4. They just have to make my top 4. They have to get to the playoff. That's the whole goal. That's the goal.
But I don't think they have a quality win. If it comes down to a one-loss Big 10 or an undefeated Big 12, you go with the Penn States who have quality wins against Wisconsin and the Minnesotas of the world.
Here's the problem, man. This is the problem with this year is there is no out-of-conference play really. And so Tulsa was their only game out of conference. They won 16-7. That means nothing. So the rest of their schedule, the hardest game they have left is Texas. They're going to win out. They're going to win out the rest of the schedule. They're going to look good. They're going to score 50 points a game. They're going to get to the playoff. Like, you got to put them in an undefeated conference champion. They're going to put them in.
Big 10, one-loss SEC gets the nod over an undefeated Big 12 with no quality wins.
No chance. You've seen this committee. They don't like that. They've got to be – you're going to have that Fox rep in that room who's like, have you seen this team? Did you see them score 47 points against Kansas? That's what's going to happen. They're going to get in over a one-loss conference runner-up.
No. Because they're – I mean, they –
So that's it, man. I got Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, Oklahoma State. Boom, top 4. Let's do this.
I can't believe it. No. Big 10 or the SEC gets 2.
Which that means Ohio State has to play Alabama and Clemson.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
You're saying good now. You won't like it when it happens.
Yes, I will. Tim, we are the best team in college football. I have no doubt in my mind going into this year.
It's easy to say when you're on the practice field. We'll see when we actually play in the games.
Easy to say when you just see the drive behind this team. Like when you just hear, I haven't seen it. I'm not lucky enough to be at their practices, but if you hear just the passion and drive behind these coaches, behind these players, they are playing with a chip on their shoulder and they are just going to run over everybody.
We'll see.
We will see. And we will see you next week because that is the end of the show. That is the Tim and Shipe Show, College Football Playoff, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. Let me remind you. And thank you so much to our sponsors. Thank you so much to our listeners, everyone who is supporting of this show. We just appreciate the heck out of you folks. So thank you so much. He's Tim Jones. I'm Aaron Shipe. Thanks so much for being a part of the show today, and we'll catch you next time.
And go Gators.